Hello, all you lovely people. My name is Ram. Let me start with a story that all of you would be aware of. This is the proverbial elephant and the six blind men. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. So there is this elephant and six blind men who are told to feel the elephant and describe what they think the elephant would look like. So one blind man touches the tail and says, "Oh, the elephant is like a rope." Okay, we've heard this story, so I'll not go into detail. But very importantly, were the blind people right in whatever they came up with the description of the elephant? Of course not, right? They were nowhere close to what an elephant looks like. But were they wrong? Well, the answer is not that obvious. Okay? They were right to the extent of the information that they were allowed to gather. Okay? Assuming that that was the only part that they were allowed to feel, probably that is the best that they could infer. Okay? So there is the situation where there is an elephant, which is the actual, which is the reality, and there is the whatever the people felt that the elephant was, okay, which is their individual reality. So there is the actual reality, or what we call as the world reality, and there is the individual reality. The difference between the two, my dear friends, is what we term as perception. And that's what is going to be the point of discussion with all of you today. So it brings us to the important question: do perceptions matter? Of course they do, right? Because perception is an important element of the decision-making process. We make decisions based on perception. Your boss feels that you're not good at your work. The reality is you have exceptional technical skills, but your communication is poor. And that is what is probably leading the boss to think that you're not good at what you're doing. The result, the consequences of this is that you may not get good opportunities and good roles, because the boss may not be in favor of you getting those roles. So as you can see, perceptions can make a big difference in every aspect of your life, in your relationships, even in your happiness at work, and your career progression. So perception does matter. Let's look at some situations at the workplace. The leader may think that he or she has the answers to everything. The others may feel that the leader is arrogant. The leader may feel that he or she is delegating. The others may feel that the leader is shirking responsibilities. The leader may feel that he or she would like to contribute to every situation. The others feel that the leader is micromanaging. The way the people perceive you determines their behavior towards you. So does perception matter? Of course it does. So now let us look at the way perceptions are formed. So if we know the process, then we can understand thereafter how do we influence perceptions. Every human being without any known disability has got 5 senses. So does it mean that in every situation we use all our 5 senses? Unconsciously, yes, but consciously, probably no. Does it also mean that every individual will sense the same things from a given situation? The answer again is no. So let's understand why is there a difference. So while every human being has got 5 senses, the development of each of the sense and the predominance of one sense over the other differs from individual to individual. So in any situation, the dominant sense always overpowers the other senses. Although all the five senses are sensing things from that particular situation. So if we take an example of a restaurant where the waiter is bringing in a chocolate brownie, okay, and there's smoke all around, and the waiter is bringing in, one person would say, wow, the aroma of the chocolate brownie is making me salivate. The other individual sitting at the same table may say, wow, just a look at that chocolate brownie is making me salivate. Right? Same situation. Does it mean that the first person was not using his visual sense to see the brownie? Of course he was. But in his case, probably his dominant sense was the sense of smell. In the second case, the second individual's dominant sense is probably his visual sense. So although both of them have all the five senses, what they use more often is the predominant sense. So dominance is one reason why two people may look at the same situation and sense things differently. Have you had situations where you had a very important meeting at work, or probably you're having an important meeting the next day? So on your way back home, you're thinking about this meeting, either about the meeting that has happened and how it went and what you could have done, or probably the important meeting that's going to happen tomorrow, and hence you're planning for it, deciding how you're going to start, what you're going to say, and lo and behold, you reached home. Okay? You don't even know, you were in the car, you were driving, but you did not even know what's happening around you. So the state of mind of the individual determines what is getting sensed. In this case, in the examples that I took, your mind was involved with the meeting that you were going to have, or the meeting that you had, and that was dominating your mind, and the processing that was happening was all about that, and hence what was getting sensed from things around you were very, very minimal. You're watching an important match on television, an India-Pakistan cricket match. Your focus is all on it, and your small baby in the other room is started crying. It will take a while for you to sense that, probably, because your focus is all on that match which is in your area of interest. Because something which is in your area of interest also impacts your sensory acuity. So if we look here, there is a reality, there are situations that have happened, and based on how accurately your senses are capturing that information determines the way the perception gets formed subsequently. So this is kind of the door or the input for that information, the situation or the reality of the situation to reach you. So now that you've received the input, the next thing that happens is the processing of this information. Okay? And the way the information is processed determines the difference, the gap between the world reality and your reality. So let's look at what are the factors which influence the processing of this information. There are certain behavioral models which influence the way we process the information that we have received. So number one, as we said, is generalization. Okay. So let's assume that we drive quite a lot, and whenever we hear an ambulance siren behind us, we have a habit of moving to the side of the road. Okay, that's what we do. So the input here is the siren, and based on that we take an action. The perception that we form is that, okay, there is somebody who needs an urgent hospitalization, and hence let me move out of the way. That's the action that you've taken. Now, let's assume that a very good friend of yours comes and tells you and it's a very reliable source, saying that most of the time the ambulance drivers just blow the siren even though there is no emergency. So the next time when you are on the road and there is a siren, which is the input which has been received, the sound of the siren, the processing of that information there is a thought which starts coming in your mind saying, I don't think so, this is an emergency. Okay, and you may then decide whether you should move to the side of the road or not. Maybe every time you hear the ambulance siren, you're trying to generalize the situation that you heard from your friend, that there is no emergency here. So this could cause an impact on your perception of that information that you're receiving. The second behavioral model that affects the processing is what we call as deletion. So this is a way in which we selectively exclude certain aspects of the environment, or we give preference to certain aspects of the environment over others. So what is deletion? You are in a crowded train, okay, hardly a place to stand, but you have comfortably got a seat, and there's people talking all around you, but you are able to read a book in all that noise. What have you done? You have selectively ignored all the stimuli that is coming from the external environment in preference for the stimuli, which is what is the input that you're receiving from the book. The third behavioral model which affects the way we process the information that we receive from our senses is called as distortion. This is a process by which we unconsciously create a shift in the experience that we have received through our senses. So if we have had an experience of if we believe that people constantly criticize us, if that is a feeling that you have, and even if you're receiving some appreciation from people, okay, people are appreciating you, which is what you're hearing and what you're sensing, right? But because of distortion, you may start looking at that input that you've received and start seeing some ulterior motive behind it, right? So what you're doing is distorting or shifting that experience that you're actually getting through your senses, and creating a different experience for yourself. So what we have seen so far is there is a world reality, which is the actual situation which has happened. What you've captured through your senses is probably different from what has actually happened, and this is because of things like your dominant sense, your state of mind at that point in time, your focus at that point in time, and so on and so forth. So what you captured, what your senses have captured, is probably not exactly what has happened. Then what has happened, when you process that information that has been received by your senses, there are certain behavioral models that you exhibit. It could be a generalization. Deletion, you tend to remove aspects of the environment which probably you feel don't matter at that point in time. And distortion, you create a different experience out of what you're actually, what your senses have actually given you as an input. So all these could impact your processing, which could lead to your reality being very different from what the world reality is. And this, my dear friends, is perception. So having understood the process by which perceptions get formed, how do we influence them, right? Because you want your reality to be as close to the world reality as possible, right?